Hello, my name is Raymond Karchevsky, and I am a living Christ. Now, what does that mean? I'm a nobody. I have looked all my life at ego, that mystical identification of habits that exist in the conscious intellect created by thought that one identifies when one finds that those ideas based in the after moment serve one. But one understands that they are not that identity. That identity is a fictional identity, which means that it's not real. However, what is real is the spirit of the energy of those words and ideas, the holistic energy that is what is. Now, what is largely different from the idea of what is. It's a different dimension. What is truth. What is God. What is love. What is in harmony with all that exists. There is no duality in what is. Therefore, what is eternal. You are that what is, as much as I am. And that's why I'm a nobody. You understand the difference between a nobody and a somebody? The somebody is an ego, striving for recognition, work, day and night, struggling to be a somebody or a something, to have power, to have position, to have fame, celebrity, to be known. Well, being known comes automatically when you are at one with truth, because truth is all there is. All those fictions arise from that truth and make it an artificial, illusory dimension of consciousness we call the dualistic intellect. As I'm speaking to you right now, I'm using words so that I can communicate with you, I can link with you. But you understand that the words that I use are merely vessels which contain the non-dualistic energy of truth, of which I am. I am that I am. Now, that may puzzle most of you who are trying to figure that out intellectually, and that's your problem. You are limited. You cannot grasp immediately through insight the truth of the energy which is being communicated to you non-dualistically by this simple man of truth, this nobody. Understand? Now, being a nobody, there's nothing to defend against. You cannot destroy a nobody or a nothing. Understand? All struggle comes from that which is something. The ego, for example, is a something, but it's artificial, is it not? It's illusory. It is attained and retained, and therefore that retention of identity is always under attack by other egos. That is the realm of intellectual behavior found in a dualistic society, a civilized world. That world is hell. You understand that? Full of conflict, full of division, confusion, separation, full of anger, frustration, harm, crime, wars. You understand? That's the world that you, each of you, millions, billions of you, egos out there who have been trained to worship the ego, who have been trained to worship the intellectual mind, which is a fiction. You understand? Now, the reason for your being here on this earth at this time is to understand who you are, because you have no clue of who you truly are and your capacity. You see, you have no understanding what this life is all about, but that which has been drummed into you, trained into you, indoctrinated into you. You've been punished. You have been rewarded. But who has been rewarded and punished? It has to be the ego, the identity. You find that in every aspect of your life. You find that in your schools, your education. You're trained to be a somebody, to find your way in society and hold it against all attackers. Understand? That's the nature of civilized life. You compete. You're in conflict. You endeavor to have power over another and to exploit that power. While I, the nobody, have nothing to defend against. Let me tell you the reality of being a nobody. As opposed to the dualistic idea of your intellect that you must be a somebody to be a success in this world. They look down on people who are nobodies, and that is their mistake. Do you understand? The nobody cannot be destroyed. He cannot be harmed. He doesn't have to defend against anything because he doesn't live in duality. And all efforts to destroy him fail miserably. And those who seek to destroy the simple man of truth, the Christ consciousness, they suffer the effects of their failed attempts. And they must conduct themselves in anonymity, because each time they are exposed to themselves, they run in their anonymity, feeling safe that they will not be discovered. But once they are discovered, they must change their identity, their name. Their anonymity must be preserved at all times for them to abide by the satanic rules of living in one's intellectual consciousness. You see, they worship Satan, which is the god of the intellectual mind. And they worship that god, the god of somebodies, And the somebodies are always in conflict with other somebodies. That's the fact, the true fact. Well, the nobody stands amidst them, but he has a protective layer that provides him safety, security. He is the symbol of love, true love, not the idea of love, which is a fiction designed to manipulate others emotionally and benefit by such. That's the world of hell. There is no love in hell. There's only the idea of love, and that's merely infatuation until it turns around and bites you in your butt, turns your life upside down, and you divorce. If you happen to marry under intellectual, dualistic means. There are institutions out there that are designed to govern you physically, through force and fear. You have government. But government is also a fictional institution that you must consent to, you must contract with. That contract is satanic. It binds you to the rules and regulations of that institution that you call government. That rules you, rules your behavior, will punish you if you don't abide by their rules, their laws. You see, there's only God's law, and that is do no harm and tell no lies. Now, what does that really mean? If you do no harm, if you tell no lies, you are living non-dualistically. You are living in truth, and you are protected. You are securitized. You are beyond harm. You are beyond hurt, attacks. If you want to question that, I suggest that you consult my websites, arkenterprises.com and lisarayenterprises.com, that I've had over the past 25 years, and watch and look and see how this nobody, this living Christ, has been assailed by somebodies. The terminals of satanic rule, who vie for power, who are deceptive, who are manipulators of words and ideas, who are harmers, the scam artists. You live in hell by your own consent. That makes you the dupe, responsible for your pain, your suffering. And you will remain in that state of consciousness until you die in this lifetime. And that too is an illusion. You see, because you, when you find that you are beyond the realm of somebodies and enter into the realm of a nobody, you are infinite. You are at one with all. And there is no fight. There is no destruction. There is no war. There's only love. Because one is holistic, holy, complete. One cannot harm because there's no other in the subconscious realm of mind to harm. That is only reserved for the satanic dualistic mind that you all occupy. Oh, you may not admit it, but that is your own ignorance speaking. You're there, whether you like it or not. The pain that you experience, the suffering, the weeping, the gnashing of teeth, to experiences that are not holistically faced, are the proof that you are a dualistic somebody living in hell. I have come to liberate you from that satanic consciousness. You can see how it has been resisted for 25 years by the vast legion of Satanists out there who live in the civilized world and abide by satanic rule. It doesn't affect me. You understand why? Because it is dualistic in nature, satanic, and I exist in the combination. I'm in your world, but I'm not of it. For I am at one. I am truth, just a simple man of truth, a nobody. I do not strive. I merely speak and act in truth. Now, what is the outcome of that? If I tell you, understand, and I must use words to tell you why and how that's possible. And it's possible for you too, because in fact, in my world of oneness, you and I are one. In your world, you're ignorant, limited in your intelligence, and therefore you are affected by your limitation of thought. Understand? You cannot grasp that which is beyond your own limitations, your own beliefs. Now that's how I live this life. I'm 81 years old. I have been retired when the police department had gotten rid of me by forcing me into a forced retirement. The injury existed, no question about that. The medical records indicate that. But I didn't want to retire, for I found that in the negative aspect of police work, I was an asset because I acted in truth. If someone harmed another, they couldn't stop me from doing my job. Not the powers without or the powers within the system that tried to regulate my behavior. And that is why they got rid of me. I stood with those who were harmed and did not deserve it. They were victims, true victims. Not the slovenly, victim-minded who purposely lived parasitically off others through deception, through intrigue, through violence, through crime. I was their worst enemy, but I also was the police department's worst enemy because they could not regulate my actions. I was very visible in my community, had a great reputation. And I was probably the most efficient police officer in that agency at the time. I have no idea what goes on now, but I'm speaking only of my experiences, which caused me to be forced into a retirement in 1970. I began my police career in 1962, so I spent 8 years. In that 8 years, I became a sergeant. I worked under a good man who's now deceased, Neil Tremaine. He was an honest man, good cop. But he allowed others to follow their conscience. That is what allowed me to do what I did. I was not hampered by quotas. I was not hampered by people looking over my shoulder, telling me, instructing me, holding me to do their bidding. I was independent as one can be as a police officer. And that allowed me the ability to operate in truth. Nothing could stop me in my job. And that was the threat that I became to those who were politically ambitious and sought to remove me. So, in 1970, they forced me into a retirement, which I did not want to retire, but intelligence, non-dualistic intelligence, told me that my time was up. That time of my life, the experiences of my life at that time were sufficient. I have learned the lesson and was to move on. So I created my own business, Pacific Coast Investigations and Security, and I operated a private security patrol and private investigation firm, which was secondary, for 12 years. So that allowed me to raise my family, to raise my children, my 3 children, all of whom left in '82. And my wife and I were facing an empty nest. I then decided to sell the business, that I had been under attack for 12 years by the present chief of police of Pacifica for 12 years, who tried to deny my opportunity to earn a living to service my clients. He tried for 12 years, and he failed. Finally, the city manager at the time told him to lay off me. Struggle was over. And I had not lost a single day's work serving my clients, even though I faced 12 years of corruption and attack of a man who tried to destroy my career, my company. That man also is deceased now. But he left a legacy. He, at the time, was an adversary by his own hand of me every step of the way. When we took the sergeant's examination, I came out number 1, but he had more seniority. So he was given the opportunity of being sergeant. I had no problem with that, for I was operating in truth. I had no ambition. I was not a social climber. I did my job. I continued. And when it came time to take the captain's examination, lo and behold, the results were withheld from me, and the rules indicated that all the results must be publicly cited. I went to the assistant city manager, James Swain, and he refused to show me the results of that examination, where the man who came up second in the sergeant's examination and who was threatened by this living Christ, his job was threatened, he became the captain and later chief. As I say, I was not in competition with him, but he indeed was in competition with me. He played the game. He was the juvenile officer when he was a patrolman with me. But he had ambition. And that ambition carried him where he became a somebody. He became the chief. And then he resigned that position to go to another police department in the Bay Area of San Francisco. However, that was limited also because he left under a cloud of pedophilia. Interesting, isn't it? A juvenile officer and pedophilia. Now, back then, pedophilia was not such a major public nuisance, corruption, a badge of dishonor. It is now. The New World Order was poking its satanic head in its energy behind my retirement, my forced retirement. So they paid me for the rest of my life a pension, a disability pension. Did not ask for it. I did not seek it. It was imposed upon me. That act was the act of God. God operates in mysterious ways. What appears to be the truth is not always the truth. Now, being a man of truth, I followed my insights, my oneness of intelligence. And I sold the business in 1982, and I retired completely, fully. I have been retired completely and fully since. I communicate with you and the business, Ark Enterprises, which is a play on the initials of Anita, my wife, Ray, myself, and my last name, A-R-K, Ark Enterprises, was the logo for my company. But I sought to retire from that also. And so what I do now is I speak to you holistically, truthfully, in the moment. And you, being trained intellectually, you either stretch and you're able to hear the non-dualistic truth of my words, or you are not. That is the struggle that is going on within you. You get the partial understanding of my words, but you're not fully, completely at one with them. And that is my purpose on earth at this time, to provide for the truth that cannot be assailed by satanic thought, which it has been since the beginning of time. I am the second coming of Christ consciousness, and that is a simple man of truth, a nobody. And so are you, those who possess the infinite intelligence of non-dualism, of the subconscious mind. You are the new world. Not the new world order. That is satanic. It's a mask. Put on the old world order, which rules you over your conscious intellects, your dualistic intellects. And that is the source of your confusion. I speak to you truth, and you know it's truth, because if you feel the pain, the confusion, the hurt, your feelings are hurt, you feel insulted, that is your conscious intellect rebelling against the truth that is being spoken and cannot be curtailed. You may try and destroy it. You may try and block it. You may try all kinds of defenses, but you cannot deal with the truth until you finally understand that is the source of your pain and suffering in your fictionalized world. I am leading you. I'm speaking to you. You will hear the truth, and that will bring you to your change in behavior, or it will not. And if not, you remain in hell for the rest of this life until you die. But you see, that too is a fiction, because that's the ego that dies. That's the mind that dies, the body that dies. These are all vessels that contain the real you. You are beyond all that. You are eternal in energy. You are all that is. That, in a word, is called infinite. And that which is infinite intelligence is God. So there you have it. All of your egotistical indoctrinations, regardless of what belief system you adhere to, you call it different things, but those are all images, and they're all temporary. Therefore, they're not real. They're illusions. I'm bringing you beyond that point of illusion to the point of infinite truth. That's the second coming of Christ consciousness. You either get it or you don't. We're heading for a economic collapse in this world economy. Not just this country, but this world. Because the Satanists have gone on too long, and it's all a fiction, therefore it must come to an end. And they must destroy themselves with the illusion that they have created. And so I'll not shed a tear for the millions of you who will die in the illusory collapse of the world economy. I speak to those who have the opportunity of everlasting life. I speak to you in the same way that Jesus of Nazareth spoke to his contemporaries. But he was such a threat to those Satanists, the lawyers, the religious leaders, the bankers, the money changers of his time, that they killed him and made a legend out of him, an illusory legend, a myth. You understand? Jesus, the man, the essence of the name Jesus, which was not the name that he bore in his time, for that came much after by other people who wrote about him. He was simple, man of truth, as I, and there are many of you who are striving for understanding, but you're blocked by your own belief system, and that makes for your personal hell. But you don't understand that it is an illusion, and all that you have to do is end the illusion, stop the thinking, stop the dualistic intellectualism that has bound you to all of your illusions, and you shall be free. You shall have a world of peace. No one, understand? Because the oneness that is spoken of in the intellectual mind is the ego. No one is your enemy. That's what you understand when you enter into the true spiritual mind of non-dualism, the subconscious mind. You are at one with infinite intelligence. You are God, the God of your own life, and only of your own life. You have no power over changing. You have no desire to change a somebody into a nobody. That is their responsibility. That is what they must understand. And it is only understood through relationship. So that is what I offer in these videos. The opportunity to see what a free man, a sovereign man, a nobody, a simple man of truth, the living Christ, looks and acts like. You are seeing the indestructible, the truth. And that is why you are being related to by this living Christ to show you the way. But you must act responsibly for yourself. I will not give it to you. You understand, as long as that dualism occurs, looking for someone to solve your problems for you, as you do when you elect a government to do your thinking for you, you remain a slave, dependent upon that false illusion of authority. You are your own God. You are your own savior of your life. You create the quality of your life and therefore are responsible for it. That is the most difficult thing for you to understand. And that is why I ask for donations or for your cooperation in sharing my videos, because they're different. They are so different that no one on the internet at this time or another time has presented such energy. And so it seems impossible to you that one can live that way. I am living proof that one is the God of his own life, and what I have done in my life, you can do in your life when you truly understand that you are not your satanically indoctrinated intellectual mind that is artificially imposed upon you through force, fear, and dependency. Nor do you give away your energy, your life force, in the way of money to bankers who manipulate that and steal your life away from you. Steal your productive life force, converted into money, illusory money, through you. But as long as we are living in that hell, I demand that you act responsibly. Therefore, I do ask for donations. But it is my intention to change this world into a non-dualistic, Christ consciousness oriented world where there is love, non-dualistic love, cooperation. You see, all of the intelligence that has created hell still remains, but it is not subjected to the limited confines of rules and regulations called man's law. I show you that there's only one law. That's do no harm, tell no lies. That relieves you from the conscious, dualistic, conflicted intellect. And then you know what true love is. And something that is to be cherished. When there is no conflict between you and another, that's love. When there is no plan, design, scheme to benefit through the illusion of a dualistic relationship, hell cannot exist. Understand? It must exist in duality. I am showing you that you are living in duality consensually. You consent to your own hell through contracts, through the legal profession. The legal profession is satanic, no question about it. It is based in dualism, where parties are elevated or subjugated based on their amount of energy. The elevated are the leaders, the subjugated are the slaves. You want to live that way? You're here to learn that that's just a segment, a blip in the eternity of your true consciousness. I'm here to demonstrate it to you. Do you have the intelligence to grasp it?